Hi guys, Stugo here with a new video, and this video will be a Fury Warrior PvP guide video for 10.1.5. And there is a twist, we have 3 builds instead of just one. I'm going to show you my main build currently, which I'm enjoying the most. I'm going to show you the second build, which is everyone actually running in with it, but with a twist, but I don't really like that build. I want to show you guys the differences between those builds. I'm going to show you the third build, which is the more ideal one if one day we can actually have fully geared and we can actually play certain comps where I do feel comfortable to play that build. Now, I'm going to discuss about the stats and embellishments of that spec, but it's quite similar with arms. We're going to talk about the 4 set, is it worth it? 2 set, is it worth it? We're going to talk about that as well. I'm going to, of course, talk about the builds, the PvP talents. We're going to talk about strength and weaknesses of a Fury Warrior compared to an Arms Warrior. We're going to talk about the comps, which are quite similar to a Arms Warrior. We made a video basically Wednesday, so if you want to check that out, you can always check that out. We are going to talk about the rotation, the burst rotation, and of course, we're going to talk about the macros and tips and tricks whenever we are at the end of the video. Anyways, let's start right away with the stats and embellishments and whatnot. There is a thing where I am actually playing with one-handers. You busted me. We're going to talk about that as well, but with the build video. But I'm going to talk first and foremost about the stats. We're running a full mastery build with a bit less haste than people are intending to. Again, I try to get as much mastery as possible. I need to still replace the helm, still need to replace the chest, still need to replace the wrists, the back, and the waist. And of course, we have double trinkets because we are a human. But if we had the choice, we would play with the unused one so we can control our burst a bit better. And for the rest, we are playing with certain embellishments. I'm playing with the 5-10 primary start whenever you're going to apply a loss of control effect to the enemy, interrupting or dispelling, which is quite nice. And I'm actually running the enemy who damage you will sometimes take. That's not good. You should replace it by the Zen focus. I like that because if I'm on target, I get like a mastery pop, which is quite nice. But else you can also play whatever you want in embellishments. But I would play with the Zen focus once this is replaced. What else? We play with double mastery rings, and I'm playing with 2 sets currently, and now I have 3 sets, but I want to replace the chest. 2 set. I'm going to explain why. Rampage damage and critical strike chance increased by 10%. I think it's PvP 5%, but it's still that 5% more damage on Rampage, which is now hitting like a truck if you're playing my build. The 4 set, I think it's not really worth it. Why? Because you do use your bloodthirst quite often for sustain, and it's not really for the damage proportions that you're actually using it. And yes, you can stack it 10 times, it will do like 125% more damage, more or less. But I do find that it's not that good. Like I never really crit it very high. I think my max crit was currently 100k on a blood buff, and it was because I built around that, which again I think if I use all CDs, I use my Spear of Bastion, and everything is going alright. I do just a 100k blood buff. It's quite underwhelming. I could do just 2 crushing blows, and it's pretty much that, instead of like waiting for that one moment to do a lot of damage. So I don't really like that. And I do feel like for a 4 set, you're using a lot of crits, which is not really cool as a Fury Warrior to have. I do think it's a dead stat, more or less, because you're actually proccing recklessness quite often because of your build. You don't really need to take stats from crit. I think crit is a dead stat for Fury right now, especially with the nerfs to crit, but also just in general you have recklessness, which is proccing more often than not. So it's something that you are needing to understand and play around it. There are moments where I do feel like, why am I not playing full no set? I do feel like having more damage on Rampage is something that no real stat can actually achieve that, even if you're like replacing it by full mastery, shoulders and hands. you're not going to win too much mastery compared to the damage that you're actually going to win with the rampage proc from the 2 set. Again, it's like at all times, so you don't lose anything. It's the same as the 2 set from arms. It's minimal 2.5%, but it's at all times 2.5%, so it's not that bad like compared to other sets, I guess. But the 4 set is really not that good. I made a video about it like in 10.1 where I was actually excited, but dummies were giving me like 2 times the damage that I actually produce in PvP, so I actually abandoned the idea of going for a 4 set. I do have the 4 set in my bags, but it's for Protection Warrior, for example. Anyways, now let's talk about the build. And chance real quick, but I already discussed it on the arms warrior video. But homebound speed on the cloak, sustained strength on chest, plus 200 speed on the wrists, plains runner's breeze on the boots, plus 177 strength and 131 stamina. You could also go for the versatility one, but I'm already very much capped, which you should not really be. I think 30% is really good. If you're above that, it means that you have too much of it, which is not that great. And for the rest, we also have Shadowed Belt clasp for the extra stamina you get from the belt. And Sophic Devotion for both weapons. You could maybe take Wafting Devotion or Urban Writ for the increased mastery, but I do feel like it procs not that much. The Urban Writ and Sophic and the Wafting Devotion, yes, you will have more haste. Is it really needed though? That's a real question. I think Sophic Devotion is probably the better one for like raw damage. Let's talk about talents. This is my favorite build. If you want to just look one build and don't looking forward to another one, I would just go for this one. This is the one that I'm playing the most right now, which I'm enjoying the most. And whenever I'm actually switching to another build, I feel like I have less success with it. Is it because of my gear not being optimal, or is it because any other reason? I don't know. But this build actually pumps a lot of damage. I'm going to really quickly talk about the class tree because it's really not that different with arms, except we are running with Thunderous Roar instead of a Spear of Passion on arms, for example. Spear of Passion, you should see it as a big bait ability. Or if you have full value, it does a lot of damage, but you have to have full value, which is not often with all the classes and specs that actually can just get out of it for free. I'm talking to you, Priest, with your Fade. Thunderous Roar actually does some good damage, and it's not really avoidable. You can dispel it with like Dwarf, Racial, whatever, but if they're using it, you can kind of win for it because then they are enabled to use the trinkets for the stun, which that's why we're playing with Shockwave. We also play with Endurance Training, 5% stamina is quite nice, and since we lose stamina because of not playing with 2-handers instead of 1-handers, we do lose some stamina, so this is quite helpful as well. If I'm playing with people that have multiple stuns, or they have like stuns that actually just DRs too well, like for example, if I'm playing with a sub rogue, I just refuse to play Shockwave because it's stupid first and foremost. We DR each other like stupidly. Sometimes he DRs me and then I DR him, so there is no reason to play Shockwave. So I would just remove those 2 points and go for example, if you're playing versus a Paladin or a mage, Shadowing Throw. If you're playing versus a warlock but without Paladin or whatever, go Wrecking Flow, so you can actually just remove the Dark Pact quite easily. You can also just play for more defenses with Inspiring Presence. If you're doing BGs, you can maybe play Second Wind instead of Shockwave, for example. You can also take Honed Reflexes to get more Raging Blows, although that's not really needed because of that build. You can also play around Cruel Strikes, getting more crit chance, but also more damage on your Execute, which is actually pumping right now. You can play a lot of things. You can also reduce the Thunderous Roar by 1 minute, by 30 seconds to be a 1 minute CD, which is also quite nice. But personally, right now, I'm playing mostly Shockwave with Endurance Training, but I can sometimes put those 2 points here or put it somewhere above the tree. So this is pretty much the explanation. We're playing with Titan's Torment, although we're not playing around the Blade build, and the Bloodborne is not really, like, it's super important because it does add a lot of damage to your Odin's Fury. We're not playing it. We're taking Odin's Fury to get like a mini Avatar go. It does a lot of damage like right like at the moment, like whatever you're going to do the Odin's Fury, that's the damage that you're going to produce, and then you have like a dot, which is quite nice, but that's not really doing too much for you. I also like the attack damage and attack speed that you get from Odin's Fury, which is going to add with the Frenzied Flurry and Single-Minded Fury talents, which is, again, additive to what you're doing right now. Overall, I think the class tree is pretty basic. I think everyone is running kind of the same. Although, for example, if you're facing a lot of um, casters and you don't really need to intervene because of like the range disparity or whatever, you can just like remove that point and put like an inspired presence or whatever. Even though that this is not that good, you can like double down with mastering commander, which is sometimes useful depending in situations. But again, it's also affected by dampening, which is not that good. But anyways, at least it feels like it's affected by dampening most of the time. I think it does. I actually don't know. I actually don't play Sparring Presence too much, but there is like a reason probably where you can actually play that and get more health. But that's it. Thunderclap is useless for Furies who do not even attempt to play that. So, onto the class tree. So, there is, of course, me being playing with Single-Minded Fury. And the reason is because I have an epic weapon because of like war mode. I decided to maybe give it a try, and with the multiple buffs to Onslaught, Rampage, just overall the damage of Fury Warriors, I do feel like right now it's kind of the time to play that build. It does add a bit of damage extra towards your Rampage. It does add damage like overall. Now, is it like worth the stamina loss that you're getting? Because that's more likely why you are actually playing just 200 is the stamina, the main stat a bit. And what I think is this build is like flavor, but I don't think it's like mandatory. You can also just remove those 2 points, put it elsewhere. For example, you could put it in Raging Armaments, improve Whirlwind, and go for the same build. That is the build that I'm going to show you afterwards, which is like the basic one, which feels also quite nice. But this build is the build where I'm having the most fun for some reason. The added speed that you get from Single-Minded Fury kind of adds up. Sometimes you're like getting kited, and with this you're getting a bit less kited. And you might think, but Togre is 5%. How much is it? Like, to be honest, sometimes 5% is enough to actually catch someone, actually hit people. And since I play a lot of rogues, I'm actually in habit to actually being able to kick from further. But now with this talent, I do get the sensation I can actually kick faster because of being able to reach my target faster. Now, is it like a placebo? It could be, but I do like this talent. And now you're going to ask me, why are you not playing Annihilator like 99% of the Fury Warriors on the ladder? I do not like that talent. Tested multiple ways, multiple times. I do feel like I'm losing actually DPS with this. Now, maybe it's because I'm full mastery. I think this talent might work best with a haste build. I understand that, but I do feel like my melee attacks actually hits like a truck with this build for some reason. But also, what I do not like about Annihilator is that whenever you're taking slaughtering strikes, which is actually making your raging, like your rampage, hit like a truck, like 100% more damage. If you're playing with Raging Blow and Crushing Blow, if you're playing with that talent, it will only be 10% increased damage. And yes, it will be up more often, but to be honest, I can just Onslaught, will have 3 stacks of it directly, and then do one Crushing blow or one Raging Blow, and I will have 80% or 100% more damage on Rampage before the CD is back up. The CD is like not the CD but the Rage, because you still have to like build Rage to get Rampage, and sometimes I feel like I don't need to press Rampage like from the get-go right now. Sometimes I need like to build Rage anyways because of Onslaught or Raging Blow or Crushing Blow, and that's the same for Annihilator. Sometimes I have to melee attack to get Rage because of not being able to Raging Blow, or sometimes I just have to spam Bloodbath or Bloodthirst to get that Rage. So the amount of rampage I'm doing with this build and with the normal build, I would say, is the same. And although the amount of rampage I'm doing is the same, the damage is not. I feel like I'm doing more damage with this build. Yes, do I feel squishy? I do feel more squishy though. because we're not blood buffing every single global, or bloodthirsting every single global, yes, you will lose a bit of that HP regen that you get from Fury, but I'm going to be honest, the HP regen of Fury is not like over the top good anymore, especially in Soul Shuffle. I do feel like whenever I'm doing a rampage and I get a crit of a 45k, like just one hit of that rampage, it's quite satisfying. And I'm doing like a rampage, it will do like consistently 100k per rampage, and even more if I'm critting more hits, which is quite nice. And again, it depends about if I'm like on CD or not, and it will do like some really good damage whenever I'm actually able to do rampages after rampages after rampages on, like, let's say a mage or shadow priest or whatever I'm actually hitting. So it does hit for a lot, and that is why I'm actually playing with that talent and I'm not playing with Annihilator. I'm also playing with Onslaught and Tenderize, which is going to make my enrage last longer, but also giving me 3 stacks directly of slaughtering strikes, which again will give you a lot of damage for your rampage, like from like all the time, I would say. We are also playing with like raging blows and crushing blows, so obviously we want some talents that are going to increase the damage of raging blow and crushing blow. It does feel like it's a bit less impacting as in Shadowlands. Of course, everyone would like to be able to charge with just crushing blows, but that's gone. So the damage proportions is not that bad. It's also not that worse than in Bloodbath. I think the damage is higher than in Bloodbath, but its regen of HP is of course lower. So again, the build is built around Rampage, and Rampage is the one that is actually going to score you kills most of the time. Of course, we take a lot of modifiers. We're not taking more pain because it's 5% reduced damage while in rage. I get that it's quite nice, but you do have to lose like one talent somewhere elsewhere, and sometimes I just need like all the talents of those on that tree. So right now this is the build I'm playing. I'm also playing with Dancing Blades instead of like Titanic Rage, and I'm not playing like a very cleavy build with this. We're not playing with improved Whirlwind, so there is no real reason to use Whirlwind. Now if I feel like I'm cleaving a lot and I have to cleave, we can also just remove Hack and Slash and go for improved Whirlwind. But again, I prefer not, because I do like to have like extra charges because of Rampage. So I want to explicitly explain Unbridled Ferocity. Every time you're going to do a Rampage or Onslaught, you have a 20% chance to grant Recklessness for 4 seconds. And you're rampaging a lot. You are actually doing a lot of Onslaughts. So there is like little chances where you're not getting Recklessness for a long time. I think my uptime is up to 70% of the match, which is quite nice in general. So it does feel really, really cool to play like that. The good thing is we have a Soul Shuffle match, so we can actually just show you guys how it is in real time, which is perfect for this section because it will end the first build. Again, I want to show you the gear. We're playing with double one-handers, so you will lose a bit of stamina compared to another Fury Warrior, but I think the damage and the movement speed is quite noticeable and very, very cool to play around it. Go Rogue. Yeah, I think Rogue is a good option. So we're going Rogue. We're playing with a Boomy, so he doesn't really have a stun. Well, he can play with a stun, but he's not going to offensively stun. He's most likely going to defensively stun. So my Shockwave and my Stormbolt is going to give us kills normally. We're going for the Rogue, and hopefully we're doing good. And don't worry about the rotation, that will be on the rotation part of the video. Again, timestamps, so you cannot miss a beat. Okay. He disarmed me already, so I'm going to burst. Okay, that's a TD. We're doing a lot of damage. You see with my Rampage, I just hit for a lot. If I'm critting, of course. I'm stunned, so he used every single CD he has. Also Cloak. So now we are going to pump as much damage as we can. Again, we have procs of Recklessness, so it's going to be quite nice. I'm going to intervene him. I'm shouting. I'm gonna stun them. I'm gonna burst with Odin's Fury right now. We have Avatar proc, which is quite nice. We have a lot of damage. I'm going to intervene the Boomy. I'm gonna stun him, which is the art, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to disarm the assassination rogue. He has one of the better games right now. He's surviving a lot. I prefer to hit the DK, to be honest. But I'm gonna do that. We have a burst right now. I'm gonna do my shout. And now it's go time. I'm stunned, which is fortunate. I'm gonna fear him. Go back on the rogue. He stunned me while I'm bursting. Of course, it is very, very unfortunate, but it is just what it is. I'm going to hit the DK right now. I'm actually tired of playing around the rogue. Unfortunately, he has no mana anymore. Just is what it is. Can we actually kill? I don't think it will be very, very hard. Oh, unfortunate. Only 12 star surges. Go Boomy. So you see my rampage that did like crits of 43k, more 44k to be honest. Normal hits of 35. Crushing blow, kind of hitting for okay-ish damage. Still more than blood buff. I was actually never the target, so I didn't really blood buff. But if I was the target, which is probably right now, I would blood buff a bit more to sustain myself a bit more. Can we actually get the rogue out? I don't think so. He's going to root beam or something like that. Oh. Oh, okay. Let's go. And disarm him. Man, I hate playing versus the druids. Just not as fun. I'm gonna switch the target. I think mainly we have to switch a bit if we wanna have a lot of kills. But potential, I would say. I'm gonna go back to the Boomy. I think that's good. I think we're killing him. Easy. Let's go. So you see we have a lot of DPS. Of course the assassination rook does a lot of DPS as well. He did like around he played around the Crimson Tempest dot 101k. It's because of all the Army of the Dead. So it doesn't really count. But anyways, me for example, I did just like 2 targets, massive damage, rampage. Didn't crit for too much unfortunately, because it did like normal hits. But if it critted, it would be a bit higher. Go Boomy. Alright. Let's go Boomy. I think Boomy will lose all the games, which is very predictable, let's be honest. I'm gonna prepare my damage. Preparing my damage again. Where is Boomy? Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Fear. He's feared there. I'm gonna stun him. Disarm. Sorry man. I thought you were going to go for a switch. Multi-stun. I know I'm like screwing up these DRs of the assassination rogue, but it is just what it is. I think multi-stun is probably more worth it. You're not really a sub rogue. We have still blood rage, so it's going to be fine. Never mind. Slows. I'm gonna stun him because I didn't see a stun coming, unfortunately. He's just annoying me. I'm going to hit the DK. If I have no target, I'm gonna hit one, at least one. I'm gonna slow him, although it doesn't really matter. Man, oh man. But he's going out! What a dumbass! Interrupting everything I can. Okay, that's a lot of damage right now. Easy. You see the damage difference, right? The DK is always going to do more damage than me more often than not. But you see my Rampage and my Odin's Fury, my Crushing Blow all do insane damage. And my uptime was not fantastic. Imagine if I had like a lot of uptime, the Boomy would be dead like all the time, pretty quickly. Boomy is the play. I do think the Boomy will like suffer most games. Do I have to play disarm? I will have to play disarm regardless because of the assassination rogue. Gonna stop the onslaught. That's actually a very good thing. Can we actually? Opa. Okay, I'm in combat. I'm in combat. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna switch on him. I want to fear him. I'm gonna fear. Well, he just walks out of the dome. Like he's not really smart. Well, that's a multi-stun. If I haven't seen one yet. Okay, that's it. Another stun for him to not move too much. So he wants to do. Okay, I'm gonna use this. He death marked me, so I'm gonna use some CDs. Oh, we're not going to kill him through that, but he wanted to multi spell here. Am I? I think I'm. Okay, I'm gonna greed. Hopefully, I don't regret it. I might regret it, so I'm gonna switch on him, slowing him. I'm dead. I'm actually dead. Well played. Unfortunate. The assassination rogue played very well. Okay, let's try to go on the assassination rogue. Probably the DK, to be honest. I'm gonna go on DK. I think DK is probably the better target for me. I can't do that. I can do the same, to be honest. I mean, multi-stun. Well, which target on him? Okay, that's a evasion. Now I'm gonna burst the DK again. I'm gonna stun him just for a bit. He has no evasion anymore, so I just as well kill him. Well, he's dead. Unfortunate. We lost the one game where we should not lose, but it is just what it is. Huh? We'll see if we can win here. 3 wins would be not that good for me. It's only like 1 CR gain, but it is what it is. Main point is with wait, just watch me. I want to play battle trance, increase HP. Nice try though. Well, he's so close to dying and he's dead. Yeah, like I said, just one CR gain. But you see that the damage is really like unstoppable. Like I did like so much damage on Rampage, so much damage on Executes. Not really, but it felt. Also doing like 92k crits. Overall, like I think a good match. Although I think I kind of lost the last match. I like the previous match by going on the resto druid. It just is what it is. But overall, I think a good match to show the build. Now, let's talk about the other builds. We have the classic build, but I would say with a twist. You can actually switch to whatever you want. If you didn't want to play with single-minded fury, this is the build that everyone actually plays. I personally do not really like because Annihilator just doesn't do it for me. I like to have my rampage actually hit like a truck. And I do feel like my melees as a whole just hits as hard as with an Annihilator anyways. We also have like Storm of Swords, which I understand it is like flavor, but your whirlwind actually doesn't do too much damage. It is really, really just filler. It does less damage than bloodbath. Yes, you can take like improved whirlwind, and you can take meat cleaver, but it doesn't do too much damage. That is the honest thing about it. Overall, this is the build that many people play. Do I like it? Not really. Do I play it? Sometimes, whenever I don't really want to spam raging blows or crushing blows. But I just feel like this build is just not cut for me. It's like a bleed build. Again, I don't want to play like a bleed warrior. I don't want to bleed people out. I just want to smack people, actually make them go one shot because of like an ability I pressed. Then we have the third build, which is the build that is without one like single-minded fury, where you have more options, and I do play with Spear of Passion. Now, why do I play Spear of Passion with this build? I don't even take Elysian Might because I know people are going to walk out anyway, so you don't need the 2-second extra because you will have no value of it. This is pretty much the you have to pop a CD kind of ability. People will just press a CD whenever they are in the Spear of Passion, doesn't matter how or what. If it's like a DK actually using Depth Advance and also Iceborne Fortitude because he thinks that the damage is going to come, or a rogue is pressing Cloak, or a Vanish, or whatever he's pressing to actually survive the Spear of Bastion, or a Paladin is pressing Shield of Vengeance, or whatever. It actually invites people to use their CDs. And it's actually good at that. So you're pressing Spear of Bastion as a pure, how can I say, bait. So if you're pressing Spear of Bastion, do not press anything else, and you will have some results because people just press defensives out of nothing, and that will invite you like a full avatar go with recklessness, for example, and you will do some good damage with it. Again, we're not playing with Annihilator because we want to have big rampage burst, and we have a lot of health because of this, because we have like the extra stamina from the two-handers. You have more main stats. It feels alright. I do have less wins with this build than with the first build. For some reason, again, it could be a placebo, it could not be a placebo. I do feel like with this build I could be better with better gear, but I will have to see if it matters to have a bit more mastery, or a bit more something else, right? But anyways, this is the build. Um, Again, I would recommend to play this one first. Again, it's a flavor. Again, the single-minded fury, it's optional. I get that. You can also just remove those 2 points, put it in improved whirlwind and raging armaments, and put it like stay with Thunder Roar, and you can always just switch out to get a Spear of Bastion whenever you are ready to use Spear of Bastion as a bait. Now let's talk about PvP talents really quickly. So there is Battle Trance, which is all right. Since we're not playing with Annihilator, you can actually like play that. It's all right. It doesn't. It does regen a bit, but since you're switching a lot between targets most of the time because you have to, you don't really have too much value, but you can have value with it. Death Sentence is something I'm not playing it because it's clunky. Barbarian is okay in BGs. Enduring Rage is okay. I played it a bit. I don't really like too much because if you're like suffering a loss of control effect, anyways, it doesn't really matter because you are in CC anyways. Death Wish is alright because it does add a lot of damage, but you are going to take a lot of damage as well. And people have weak auras for that, and if they see Death Wish, they're going to switch onto you into big damage as well. And for some reason, you will have less benefit of it than the enemies actually, because you are smacking one enemy and two enemies can actually smack you. So it's math. Master and Commander, it's alright. I think in BGs you can play it because you need some utility, I guess, in RBGs since you're not playing arms. Um, um, I don't know if I'm playing it too much. I play it sometimes. Really, I do add that this arm is probably a better value talent. But if you want to play with Master and Commander versus, let's say, casters, I think I can understand because it's very hard to actually reach them anyways. So why not play with that? Disarm, quite nice versus melees in general. That's my go-to in general. Demolition is quite nice versus warlocks. If you're riding twos and you're playing like versus a demonology warlock, play that and you're going to ruin their dark pact like every single time. Like it just removes directly. Versus mistweaver monks, it also kind of helps, but again, you mean it really depends about if you have avatar or not. If you have avatar, you pretty much can just one shot the cocoon. If you don't, you pretty much just do a lot of damage and that's it. Warbringer, it's clunky now. I don't know how to tell, but it does less damage as well. It nerfed it too much. It's not really fun to play anymore. But sometimes I would play it in BGs or RBGs to feel like a BG hero. We have Rebound, which is useless, like I said, on the Arms Warrior PvP guide video. I think they should just remove the 10 seconds increase CD, because like a negative PvP talent is like whatever, right? Blood Rage, it's quite nice to gain rage, to get like rampages a bit quicker, a bit smoother, but also just the roots cleared from you in the snares one is actually very useful versus a lot of specs. I'm thinking about survival hunters actually with their steel trap. They're actually forced to go for you instead of like for the healer. Sometimes they just steel trap the melee like a DH and they go for the healer and try to kill the healer. That's not an option for them. But versus you, it's not possible, so they have to go for you at that point. And Slaughterhouse is quite nice, but that's also a talent you should remove if you're playing with, let's say, in social shuffle, let's say with another MS user. Because if you stack it, the first few stacks can get overwritten by other people because of their MS, and like more strike, rising sun kick, that's things that actually get spammed anyways. So you don't really have a lot of opportunities to get 36% reduced healing. But if you're playing like, let's say, with a Paladin, that's always useful. With a DK, always useful. If you're playing with a Hunter that has no pet, that's useful. If they have a pet and it's not an MS effect, a pet, or like a mortal wound pet, you can also play that. But again, you have to think and just see which one you can actually remove. Personally, I think Slaughterhouse is not that good whenever you have like an assassination rogue with you or anything else that actually can just override like at all times. I would just play without it, which opens up to another talent. Again, I think that's a good W in general. But in trees, of course, Slaughterhouse, because you can pair yourself with SP and then it's going to be pretty useful to have. Now, strengths and weaknesses of that build. In general, I think getting kited is something that warriors are just doomed. If you're playing versus mages, it just feels miserable at all times. Holy paladins are like very, very annoying to deal with. Resto druids are very annoying to deal with. Um, in general, you can actually like blow DKs and rogues up, but you are very CD heavy. Although you don't think so, it is actually the case. With Avatar, you can actually kill people. Without Avatar, it feels like you're lacking a bit of damage to actually like kill people. So you have to play around that. Understand that CDs can just stop you and CC can stop you, which is the worst feeling in the game. But it just is a warrior specific thing where not all the lobbies are actually winnable for you. Sometimes doing like 3 wins is actually a really good thing for you to be, because then you are actually avoiding a loss sometimes. That's the strength. That's the weaknesses. I think the strength of a warrior is actually being smacked, like smacking people and do a lot of damage. I think the onslaught really never stops. Of course, the burst is here, the consistent damage is here, while the burst of an arms warrior is there, and the consistent damage of a warrior is like arms warrior is probably a bit lower than the fury one. So the difference is very big. For arms, while for fury this difference is a bit less, but the burst is also a bit less. So you have to see how it fits for you. I think most matchups you can actually win because of your consistency, but some matches where you need some burst and some oomph, I feel like Fury Warrior kind of lacks it. That's why I'm playing with this, so I have more rampage, like damage, and execute actually hitting like a truck as well. So can do not hesitate to use execute instead of like raging blows or crushing blows to get some rage, because it does really a lot of damage, especially if they crit like both portions. It actually does like good damage, to be honest. So that's the strength and weaknesses of the spec. Of course, disarm is very big versus you, but that is just the way of the melee. Let's talk about comps real quickly. I think in twos, like I said, I think Fury is more adaptable to play with a hybrid, so you can actually double DPS. Is it the most viable? No, I think it's probably better with a healer. And like on the Arms Warrior PvP guide video, I do think Holy Paladin, Fistweavers, resto Shamans, and I'd say a Holy Priest are probably the better healers for you. I do think Disc is like resto Druid is because they cannot really utilize the same kit as they could utilize it with a Survival Hunter or with an Affliction Warlock, for example, or a Demonology Warlock. Yeah, and yeah, Preservation Evoker is just not a good healer in twos in general. That's my feeling towards it. What else? Trees, I feel like the better comps are with a custom. That is like something I always said with every single video about like guides that I'd made for warriors. I think custom melee healer is probably the best configuration for a warrior. So playing with a SP, playing with an arcane mage or a frost mage or a fire mage, playing with a boomy, playing with even a feral. I guess feral can also work. Those like specs actually works very well with a warrior. Actually, specs where you feel like you're not going to be the target is going to feel very nice. And then you have like comps where you're playing with a Retribution Paladin, and now Retribution Paladin is a bit more tanky than a warrior, and they are actually more inclined to go for the warrior these days. And that is actually very annoying because you are actually very squishy regardless of what people think. Warrior is actually very downable, especially for a lot of comps that are actually specialized in killing plates, like for example caster cleaves. Yeah, and also DKs. I think if you can play TSG, it is also a very good comp as well. What else? I want to talk about the soul shuffle. You have again. I want to do a warning, like the same as the Arms Warrior one. It is not meta warrior, so most specs, most comps, and most lobbies are going to feel like pain, and it has probably nothing to do with you. It has to do with the lobby and how it's set up. Sometimes doing 3 wins is lucky. Sometimes doing 6 wins is actually a blessing because you had like the best lobby ever, and sometimes you win 0-6 and you have actually played perfectly. You could not really do anything else in that lobby, and that's actually something that can happen to everyone, even to Joe Fernandez. So chin up if you like warrior. You will have to suffer pain in solo shuffle, but there's the savior thing, which is trees, where you have more chances to actually be successful with a good team if you can actually find that good team. What else? Let's play with the rotation. Let's do rotation. So if you're not bursting, you want to try to do onslaught whenever you can, try to raging blow, crushing blows whenever you can, and try to expand your rage with rampage. Execute whatever you can as well. So pretty much you're going to go in, you're going to onslaught, rampage, you're going to do double raging blows, another raging blow to get the rage. The beginning is very slow, but again it depends. If you have like execute proc, then you can do rampages again, double raging blow, crushing blow, and then onslaught, and you have another rampage, and then execute, and then another crushing blow, another rampage, etc. So that is pretty much the rotation, and also try to hamstring whenever you can, pummel whenever you can, try to go for a fear whenever you can, and then you can do a burst combo when like someone is feared. Automatically people will just trinket it because they are afraid, which is rightfully so, or the main target will pop a CD, which is also rightfully so. I need to cut the audio a bit. Alright, so pretty much what you want to do if you want to burst is try to fake it. So if you're playing with the build that I showed you, you can pretty much like onslaught into a crushing blow, rampage, and then do a thunderous roar, and that will generally make people like think you're actually going for a burst, if you have time, of course. So they're going to pop a CD, and at that point, you're actually smacking. You're going to do a rampage, avatar, rampage again, crushing blow, rampage, execute. Try to do a stun as well if you can. Rampage, onslaught, crushing blow to have 100% damage on rampage. Boom, that's another damage. Execute whenever you can. Audience Fury to keep on the onslaught. They're either dead or they're used all their defensives, and then you have to farm it up again with your damage and your sustain. Blood buff is actually just used for sustain, so if you're like the main target and it feels like you don't really like the damage but you like actually the sustain, just try to spam a bit more blood buff, but it's not really the way to do to add damage. That is not the way. If you want to like kill people, you're not going to kill people with blood buff. That's very rare. Overall, just rampage whenever you can, onslaught, crushing blow, rampage, and try to go for a multi-stun, for example, bomb, and then you're going to damage the main target whenever you can. And stormbolt on the main target, again, very useful. And you're going to stun and play around it as good as possible. And the sun is like behind me, so it's very annoying to my camera, but it is just what it is. Belgium is very bizarre. Sometimes there is a lot of rain, and then sometimes there is a lot of sun behind my back, so it is just what it is. So this is the burst rotation. I can show you one more time again. So you're going to charge in, rampage into an avatar, rampage into a onslaught, into a crushing blow, rampage into an execute, into a rampage, into a crushing blow, into rampage, into a stun, and then you have like luckily your thunderous roar, boom, thunderous roar, a lot of damage, rampage, onslaught, rampage, and that is pretty much like someone dead. So, and then you have your Audience Fury back, and you can just do rinse and repeat. So that is pretty much the burst. I want to show you guys again. Rampage actually critting for 54k on our dummy, but I already did a 50k on a PvP match, so it is possible to get it, but it depends about a lot of modifiers that you can have during the match. Crushing blows does some okay damage, but the main damage comes from rampage. That is pretty much how it is. That is the kill potential damage that you can have with the spec. Let's talk about macros real quickly. Macros the same as for Arms Warrior, but now you don't have Blade Storm, so it doesn't really do anything for you. We have Target Party 2, Target Party 1 Intervene, which is useful. We have the burst rotation with Avatar Colossus, Smash, Spear of Bash, and Recklessness all into one macro with a use 14, which is the unused trinket. And then we have the burst also on the Recklessness with the unused trinket, which I should actually use in here. So you can actually just separate those bursts. You can actually start with Recklessness, and then you're just going to pop your damage. People are going to use their CDs because they think Recklessness is everything, and then you're going to do a free avatar go whenever you can to do damage, for example. So those are the macros. You also have a Rallying Cry one with Bitter Immunity if you do play it. I do feel like it's very bad with dampening how it is actually working right now. I think you could add bleeds onto the mix, so you can actually remove bleeds from you, but I don't think they're going to do that. So that is for the macros. Tips and tricks, I guess. Try to not rage too much, which is easier said than done, because I do rage as well. I think Warrior is a spec, a class that is very rage inducing whenever it's not really like very high tier. I think it is nowhere near A tier. I don't know how people can actually add warriors into A tier right now, because it is not the case. You have many lobbies in Soul Shuffle where it just says a big fu to you, which is really annoying, to be honest, but it just is what it is. You would have more success with like windwalkers or like the like unholy DK, because it's just how it is, the meta is laying out. But if you have like the really good lobby ones, you're going to have a lot of fun. And if you actually are more of a 3v3 player, I think warriors are going to have more fun in general in 3v3 than in, let's say, a Soul Shuffle match. The same for RBGs, by the way. I think you will have more fun in RBGs than in any Soul Shuffle match you can have in warrior. I think a lot of warriors can actually understand what I'm saying whenever I'm saying that Soul Shuffle is not fun. Whenever you're playing as warrior, it becomes very much fun whenever you're playing, like, let's say, a very meta spec. It just feels like that. So that's my main tip. Just try to realize, like, try to see how the meta is, and don't really take personal how you're losing, because sometimes you're losing because of your mistakes, and most of the times you're actually losing because of how the lobby is set up and how you actually have no impact because of the characters you're facing and the characters you have in your team. So that's pretty much the focal point I wanted to give. Again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. I'm going to make a video uh, Sunday. It will be a protection PvP guide video. I know that you will love it, so please do subscribe and like the video so you can actually just watch the protection one from Sunday. We're going to keep on like posting videos every single day, but Sunday is the protection PvP guide video, so hopefully people will like it. I do like protection warrior these days. I think it's fun. Again, also very lobby like lobby heavy spec, I would say, where you are actually reliant on the lobby to actually do and thrive. But it is just what it is. I think it's a very fun spec. I want to talk about it as well. So again, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Be sure to stay safe. We will catch you other very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.